everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today's the day where I re-record a video that I've already filmed, and the last time that I filmed this, I watched the movie with 3 other friends who clearly aren't here. Yes, once again, this is one of the Christravaganza videos that disappeared into the ether when my hard drive broke. So we're just gonna go with the flow, use this as a test run for what I might do for the other videos following this one, trying to work in those things that I definitely don't remember with the things that I have like a record account of is gonna be weird. So go ahead and feel free to leave some feedback on those things specifically in the comments, and I'll take what you say into account because we're on a journey together here, friends. Today we're going to talk about What's Your Number, also from 2011. Chris had a really busy year in 2011. This is like the 3rd or 4th movie, but it's the 3rd movie that was released in 2011, and that's a lot. What's Your Number was directed by Mark Mylod, and I've never heard of this man, but would you like to hear some of his other credits? Succession, at least an episode of Game of Thrones, Shameless, The Affair, Minority Report, Once Upon a Time, Entourage, The United States of Terra. After looking at his IMDb page, I can pretty honestly say that the only other things that I've ever seen that he's directed are television shows. So if you've never seen What's Your Number, I don't really blame you. It's a very 2011 movie. There's not much that is special about it other than the cast, but I'll get into some of that. What's Your Number is about a young woman named Allie living in Boston in this cool ass studio apartment who gets fired from her marketing job that she doesn't really seem to like. Allie is also the black sheep in her family. She's a little bit more artistic and weird than her sister and her mom are, who are very straight-laced and very rich. And Allie reads a magazine article that basically says that there's a certain number statistically of partners that women sleep with before they get married, and it's way below Allie's number of people that she's slept with. So she gets really insecure about it, to the point where at her sister's engagement party, she forces all of her sister's friends to play a game where they have to guess how many people the other people in their group have slept with. And hers is the highest, so she's doubly insecure about it now. So she enlists her hot, kind of chauvinistic but kind of not neighbor into tracking down her ex-boyfriends because one of them has to be her perfect guy because she slept with so many people. When I describe it that way, this movie sounds so misogynistic, and being directed by a man, it could have been, but I believe it's actually written by 2 women, which doesn't necessarily write off misogyny because the director does have a lot of say as well as the writers. Take that as you will, I guess. I'll say up front that I actually do like this movie. It is very much a product of its time, but I do still enjoy it. And I think it's a lot more, maybe not feminist, but a lot less misogynistic than it sounds. We're gonna go right into my pros. I don't remember why Angel said the intro, but my friend Angel that I watched this with said the intro was interesting. Boston. See what I mean about the spinny laser and Boston? Like, why was I wasting my time on these notes? I've never been to Boston. I don't know why I wrote that down as a pro, other than just like Chris Evans is from Boston and has been on record saying that he likes to film there because he gets to drive home every day. Why is that a pro for the movie? I wrote down Zachary Quinto's shirt, and now I don't remember what that shirt was. I have seen it enough that I was more distracted by the fact that I know that I don't like Zachary Quinto's character to care about what his shirt is.
I don't know, it just feels a little serious.
Oh, I'm sorry. It just, I felt kind of serious last night when you were doing me from behind.
Chris's entrance, though. The first time you see Colin, Chris's character,
Take a break for a sec, prepare for what's coming next time.
there's a reason that women like this movie. Other than the fact that it's a chick flick, a rom-com. It's the fact that Chris Evans is like at least half naked for a good 1/4 of the movie. I know somebody in the comments is gonna be like, women talk about how they don't wanna be objectified, but you're objectifying Chris Evans. And I'm like, what is that gonna do to him? He's Chris Evans. It's gonna do nothing. Out of all of the friends in Allie's sister's friend group, there's only one that I really like. Her name is Sheila, and I only like her because her only character trait is that she sleeps with a lot of men.
13.
13? Who here is a 13?
Me.
And she's unabashedly totally open about that. Doesn't really care what other people have to say about that. She doesn't really think that the number means anything. When the friends are like,
When you're too sexually available, it messes with your self-esteem. Next thing you know, you're 45, no self-respect.
she's like,
What is the big deal?
she's not portrayed as like a villain or anything, but she's definitely portrayed as a friend that you're not really supposed to trust that much, especially because somebody made the decision that Sheila stole the fiance from Daisy, Allie's sister, when they were in like high school. They want you to think that Sheila is a slut. Like, they want you to judge her for that. But every time I watch this movie, I'm like, Sheila's the only likable friend though, so.
Who cares? Who did that study anyway? The scientist over there at Marie Claire magazine?
I'm not gonna judge her for sleeping with people. Colin has a shirt that says free licks, and just, how dare they? Pretty much all of Allie's wardrobe, it doesn't really matter what event she's going to. It's great. Like, yeah, it might be a little bit outdated, but I think like Anna Faris pulls off the costume so well that it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I just like Allie's costumes a lot. Apparently somebody says, who doesn't like tacos? And I'm gonna guess that's Colin.
Yeah, who doesn't like tacos?
Because, you know, who doesn't like tacos? Colin is just his own pro. When I said earlier that he's like kind of chauvinist but kind of not, what I mean by that is that his entire character arc is that
I once stayed in a relationship with a girl because of a picture she had on her bedside table. Every time I tried to split with her, I'd picture that little girl in the blue dress.
So you're saying it's easier to sleep with girls and never call them again if you don't know anything about them?
he just enjoys women by having casual sex with them and then avoiding them the next morning by slipping into Allie's apartment and hiding there until the girls leave, because he's also a coward. I mean, he's mostly harmless. The only time that his lifestyle gets a little squicky is when Allie fakes being engaged to Colin in order to get one of the girls out of his apartment, and the girl that is in his apartment was engaged herself. Mostly it's just that Colin doesn't want to emotionally invest in anybody, and he grows out of that when he starts hanging out with Allie, because they're kind of on the same level of their insecurities being based in the emotional level of other people around them, like maintaining the emotions of other people. So Martin Freeman plays Simon. There's a lot of like really notable people in this movie, and Simon is a man that Allie dated. He moved to Boston and she pretended to be English, and they started dating, and then they stopped dating obviously, and then when they meet back up again, he's like in the middle of a divorce and selling his house, and they find him at the open house and they go on another date, and the more drunk that Allie gets, the less British she gets because she's not British. So that doesn't work out, but the whole scene is just hilarious. And I mean, it's Anna Faris and Martin Freeman, so an unlikely, like, unexpected comedic pair, but kind of perfect.
And then when I tried to pull out of it, for some reason I panicked and went full Borat.
So, I order another round?
No.
Ooh, one of the mornings where Colin slides into Allie's apartment, he's in nothing but his underwear beneath a guitar, and at first you can't see the underwear, and Allie's sister is also in her apartment. It's just funny, and also the guitar and underwear combo. It's a good look. They really used every opportunity to be like, Chris Evans is really hot. Like I said earlier, Allie gets fired from her marketing job that she doesn't really like. She basically just does it so that she has a corporate job, steady job with benefits that her parents, mostly her mother, kind of approves of, but not really. And what she really wants to do is make what she calls these freaky little sculptures, which are basically just dioramas of people in Boston, and she like hand makes them. And Colin is really supportive of these freaky little sculptures. That's where the movie is at its best, when they're like, Colin, unlike other people in Allie's family, really like the freaky little sculptures.
Hey, did you ever try and sell those freaky little sculptures you make?
No, she needs a real job.
Oh yeah, those are just a hobby.
That's how you know that he is actually boyfriend material. I'm not saying that like guys like this are really boyfriend material when there is the one person to tame them or whatever, but I don't think the movie is arguing that. I think the movie is really arguing that like Colin doesn't really see the point in investing emotionally in relationships until he really gets to know Allie and understands what a connection like that can mean to him. This is an emotional connection that they are having, which is big for them because emotional connections do different things to each of them, but they're also like the source of their insecurities. Everybody has been asking for Chris Evans to be in a musical, and I would just like to point to this movie for a minute. It is not a musical, but Chris Evans plays a musician who does sing like 2 or 3 times throughout the movie.
Doesn't matter where you've been, as long as it was deep.
I'm just saying, he's not bad. Like, I think with a few vocal lessons, he'd be perfect for an actual, like, big Broadway musical. So I kind of think that the rumors about Little Shop of Horrors, if they are true, I think that's probably a good place for him to start as far as putting Chris Evans in a musical. Once again, the movie capitalizing on how hot Chris Evans is. They go to the Boston Celtics arena. I don't know anything about basketball. And they play strip horse. There's no full frontal nudity, like it's not Forgetting Sarah Marshall level, but it's probably as close as we're ever gonna get, and I totally respect that. I'm not asking for more. Am I grateful that we get so much shirtless Chris Evans? Yes, of course I am. But I also want to say that like he's actually a really good actor, and this movie is probably, I wouldn't say one of his best performances as far as like accolades or anything, but certainly it's one of his funniest performances, one of his most relaxed performances, one of the movies that like I get joy out of watching every time I watch it. I'm trying to be respectful about it while also having a good time with it. But speaking of, after they play strip horse, they go to some harbor and strip down to nothing and jump in, and you get a butt. You get butts. My last pro is Daisy, Allie's sister, who is a little uptight, but not nearly as uptight as their mom. And Daisy actually seems to like Allie as a person and also relies very heavily on Allie as her older sister. Daisy is played by Ari Grainer, who I know originally from Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, which was one of the formative movies of my teenage years. So I really like Ari Grainer. She's also in Whip It, but we'll talk about that another time. And I really like Ari Grainer as Daisy. It's a kind of a different character than I've seen her play in any of the other movies that I've seen her in. I have one that's kind of in the middle, but now that I'm rewatching it, it's more of a con, so I'll just say it up front. Chris Pratt is in this movie too, and not only is he a con, but the character that he plays is a con. He is one of Allie's exes that she calls Disgusting Donald. That's literally his name on IMDb. It's the only thing that Allie calls him throughout the movie. The whole thing with them is that he was fat and disgusting when they were together, and so was she, because in Allie's past, she has taken on the personality of all of her ex-boyfriends, except for Andy Samberg guy, for whatever reason. Not only in their flashback do they both wear fat suits, but then the plot with Donald is that when she sees him in the present, he's lean and slim and sleek and well-dressed, and he's getting married to a woman that looks like a supermodel. Every time I think of Disgusting Donald, I get so angry for so many reasons. There's so many layers to my anger here. I mean, the only like upside to his character is just that Allie continuously runs into him as he's trying to plan this wedding to another woman, and that's it. That's the joke. The movie doesn't really say anything about it. They're not really trying to say like, this is the guy that Allie should have married. They're just kind of like, she keeps running into him, including at his wedding. But now we're gonna go to the cons. And there are quite a few of them, but again, I did like this movie, so let's go. I have 3 in a row that are just people. The first one is Allie's boss, who I think is played by Joel McHale, and he's disgusting. He like smells his own balls throughout the movie. There's Allie's mom, who is super uptight. I think she's played by Blythe Danner, and she's so obsessed with Allie being exactly like her. Like, she loves Daisy so much because Daisy is exactly like her. And they talk a lot about how their parents are divorced, and then they talk a lot about their dad, but their dad doesn't show up for like 2/3 of the movie. But then when he does show up, he has a conversation with Allie where he's like,
your mom only wants what's best for you. Unfortunately, she thinks what's best for you is being exactly like her. Only you're not, Allie. But you have my rhythm, kid.
Yes, that explains why she's always disappointed in me.
I think it's hard for her to look at you and see so much in me.
and then the third person is their step cousin Beau that Allie slept with. He's not actually their cousin, but he's kind of their cousin. I don't understand how they're actually related. It doesn't really matter. The whole point of it is weird. But down the slut shaming, because there's a lot of it. So there's kind of 2 things going on here. The first is that the people that Allie is slut-shamed by are really Daisy's friends and not her own friends. But on the other hand, Allie doesn't really seem to have friends. She doesn't really keep up with anybody that she worked with at the place that she was fired from. She only ever talks to Daisy or Colin. Those are like her only 2 friends that are her friends. She's not really friends with any of her exes, and she doesn't necessarily have to be, but like the only other people that Allie hangs out with are Daisy and Daisy's friends. And Daisy's friends are terrible. And they all slut shame her.
Oh, Allie. What? You slept with him.
Oh no!
And I'm not even giving them a break. It's not okay to do. It's just not. The therapist, family psychologist or whatever, ugh, she's the worst. She is such a downer in every scene that she's in.
When you're too sexually available, it messes with your self-esteem. Next thing you know, you're 45, no self-respect, no husband, and no muscle tone in your pelvic floor. He's not the kind of guy you end up with. He's the kind of guy you date before the guy you end up with.
I already kind of touched on the fat phobia because most of it deals with disgusting Donald, but there is a lot of like diet talk and weight talk throughout the movie.
Why aren't you wearing the dress I bought you?
This is the dress you bought me.
What? Looks very different on the mannequin.
Which I know can be triggering for some people. It isn't for me, but that doesn't cover all fat people. It is written to be taken very lightly and like you can just brush it off, but that doesn't make it any better.
That's disgusting Donald. Did I ever meet him? No, nobody did. He's the reason I learned to cook.
So just be warned. At one point, Allie flies to Miami to meet up with an ex-boyfriend and she gets a spray tan beforehand and it's awful. It does not suit Anna Faris at all. And then to top it off, this ex-boyfriend is a gynecologist and he doesn't recognize her as his ex-girlfriend until he's like looking at her vagina.
Allie! Of course.
It's gross. Anthony Mackie is in this movie and why is that not a pro in itself? It's a pro. But the con is that the only black man in the cast is a closeted gay Republican.
I want you to be my beard. I'm gay. America's ready for a black president. They're not ready for a gay black president.
You know that this was made before 2016. At one point, it's a character that says something about,
Katharine Hepburn was not sexy. Audrey Hepburn was sexy. Katharine Hepburn was a dude.
this shit is not acceptable. It wasn't acceptable then, and it's not acceptable now. So we can move on and not be transphobic from here on out, especially in our rom-coms. Not that we should be transphobic anywhere else, but let's not be transphobic in our rom-coms too. Allie goes barefoot so much, and this wouldn't bother me. No, it bothers me. It just bothers me. She goes barefoot so much. So because Allie's insecurities deal with disappointing her mom especially and trying to uphold the emotional weight of her family, basically, with no help from anybody else in her family, she does not take kindly to Colin basically telling her like,
you're so busy trying to be what everyone else wants you to be, you don't know who you are.
and the way that he goes about it maybe isn't the best, but I don't really blame him for saying those things because they're true. Allie really doesn't have a sense of self, and that is displayed throughout the flashbacks where she takes on the personality and characteristics of the ex-boyfriends. And as well, you know, doing things that her mom or Daisy wants her to do even though she doesn't want to do them, basically just because they ask her to. Even if they don't ask her nicely. All she wants to do is please her sister and her mom, and her dad to some extent, but her dad's standards are so much lower. Trying to keep up with both of them and her own interests and self-preservation kind of tears her down and makes it so that she makes bad choices for herself. She's also the only selfless, responsible adult in her family. Daisy makes a lot of demands, and as much as she and Daisy have a good relationship, Daisy makes a lot of demands of Allie, and a lot of like emotional baggage demands.
I was supposed to have lunch with Dad to tell him that he didn't have to come to the wedding, but then he said he was going to bring his girlfriend.
Jacinda?
Yeah, and I just couldn't have that conversation with him in front of her, so I just thought, you know, we could do it together.
At any point in the movie, she needs Allie to be there to do it for her. But Allie is the only one willing to do those kinds of things for anybody else in her family. And they kind of want you to think of her as an irresponsible adult, but she's not. As far as I'm concerned. So Allie's big ex is this guy, Jake Adams, who is like the son of a politician, and he's in the Peace Corps or something, whatever. The point is that he's rich and handsome, and he's got a bright future, and Allie's mother likes him. So she spends a lot of time of the movie waiting for Colin, who is the one like tracking these guys down for Allie, to find Jake Adams, and he does way earlier than he tells her, and that becomes a whole thing between them. So then she starts dating him and totally ignores Colin after they definitely had a great moment and a great night. But through the montage of dating Jake Adams, you can kind of tell that Allie isn't really being herself, and she's not really happy with him. She's just trying to convince herself that she is, because it's what her mother wants. It's the future that people in her life that she cares about wants her to have, even though she doesn't. At Daisy's wedding at the end of the movie, Jake Adams basically tells her like,
You're in between jobs and your little sculpture things can wait. And if you think about it, the only thing that's keeping you in Boston is me, and I'm leaving.
And she's like,
And as much as I want to travel the world, I'm not sure I want to do it with you.
and he totally demeans her and basically tells her that she was wasting his time. What a great boyfriend. And the end of the movie is her leaving Daisy's wedding with Daisy's permission to track down Colin, apologize to him for their fight, and tell him that she loves him.
I'm happiest when I'm being myself, and I'm myself when I'm with you. I think I love you, 21.
I gotta say, it's a little early for them to be in love as far as I'm concerned, because they went on like one date with each other, but they do have really good chemistry. And the fact that they are written to essentially have the same interests and values and generally the same goals, like they're both artists, is what I mean, that really solidifies their relationship for me. So I can kind of, write off my whole thing about I love yous are too soon. I really like this movie. I think there's a lot to like about it. I think that there's a lot to think about whether or not you like it. My arbitrary rank was who was the most famous ex as far as the actors go. So we have Anthony Mackie, Andy Samberg, Chris Pratt, Martin Freeman, the guy that's in 17 again, Thomas Lennon, Zachary Quinto, Joel McHale, kind of, sort of, not really, but kind of. Arguably, I think the most famous ex, it depends on who you're asking, because Martin Freeman is in a lot of things that a lot of people like. We do have Anthony Mackie, who's also in a lot of things. Andy Samberg, everywhere. Maybe Andy Samberg. Okay, you know what? I am gonna give it the guest scores, because I already have that, and if I get rid of it, then I have to recalibrate everything, and it's just not worth it. The IMDb score for What's Your Number is 6.1. Rotten Tomato score is 4.40. My score was a 7 because it wasn't perfect, but I do really like it. My guest average was a 7, and out of my friends and I that had watched this together when we originally filmed, only my friend Zakeen and I had seen it before. Brittany and Angel had not. You may remember any number of them. Actually, all 3 of them were in the Nanny Diaries video with me, so Watch that one. And the total score for What's Your Number is 24.5 out of a possible 40. It's not bad. Over half. The next movie is The Avengers. So strap in. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please click the bell below so you don't miss any of our future videos. Also, give it a thumbs up for algorithm reasons, because, you know, if you like me, you should support me. Let me know in the comments if you have ever seen this movie or what your favorite Chris Evans movie is so far. There's a lot of them already, and we're still going strong. 2 years later. Yay! One of us will see you real soon.